Hey there everybody, Eric from Outer Limitless with Carlos from Daily Carry Solutions. We're here today at SHOT Show 2020. We're here to cover the Wicked Edge booth. Now, there's so many things to cover in this industry. Some of the things are not only the products themselves, like the knives and the guns, but also the accessory products that help you maintain the gear in a good, proper fashion. So here at Wicked Edge, we're going to take a look at a couple of beautiful sharpeners. Now we're with Kay and Clay, the founders of Wicked Edge, talking to them about their systems, and we're going to put one of them to good use.
Hey, I'm Clay Allison from Wicked Edge here at SHOT Show 2020 and demonstrating our knife sharpening systems. The one I've got in front of me here is the Gen 3 Pro, or the WE320, kind of our top of the line system.
Hey guys, it's Carlos. I'm here with Clay Allison from Wicked Edge. Now, Clay, they say that a sharp knife is a safe knife.
Yeah, that's totally true, and the reason for that is when you've got a dull knife, you've got to just work so hard to make the cut that your chances of having that knife deflect and go off target are just much higher. When you have a very sharp knife, it gives you an accurate cut and it's going to cut where you want it to. So you're just safer for that reason.
Okay. Now, one thing that I've noticed, and I see it a lot more in production knives these days, is you buy a production knife, which is typically what 90% of the people out there are, able to go ahead and pick up, because they're going to go ahead and use their knives. And when they get them, unfortunately, the edge doesn't exactly come from factory, to where it should be, to kind of give you the most out of that knife. So I mean, I've heard of the Wicked Edge system. There are a couple of people like MIA Blade Works that I personally know that have used the system, and I mean, they swear by it. If you could explain a little bit about the ins and outs of the system, maybe how it works to really give that wicked edge, and how long of a blade that you can actually sharpen on the system. I mean, I'd really appreciate it, because I kind of want to know a little bit about that too.
Yeah, you betcha.
Yeah.
So first thing about the factory edges, when I started my company, that was the gold standard. Everybody used to tell me, oh man, if I could just get it back to the factory edge. And now I think the world's a lot more savvy that factory edges aren't all that. Because, when they're manufacturing knives, their business is making knives, it's not sharpening knives. And so that's why you need a company like ours that comes in and says, let's take the effort and put it into that one very small niche of what, is involved in knives. And that's the edge, that's what we specialize in. And all of our machines are manufactured to the highest standards, so we have very high precision machining going on. Material selection is the best quality materials we can get, so everything is 6061 Q6 aluminum and stainless steel, and we source our diamond stones. We found the very best diamond stones you can get on the planet, but it's all about precision. So like and it's also about repeatability, right? So if I want to sharpen this knife that I use all the time, I use it every day, and I dull it constantly, just beating up with boxes and stuff, I'm so confident by putting this little key in here and setting my knife in that I can lock it in place. And if I set this at 19 degrees, it will be exactly where I left it last time. So my touch-up is 30 seconds or less, and I can restore it to crazy sharp. Now, all of our sharpeners will clamp the knife like this, which leaves both your hands free. And so the next component is setting your angle. This particular machine uses a lever and kind of a guided plate here.
Now, for this guided plate, is this something that has always been present in every version of the Wicked Edge, or is this something that's exclusive to the Gen 3? This is the Gen 3,
This
correct?
is our Gen 3, yeah.
Okay.
So this is one of our innovations that we came out with in 2016 when we introduced this model. And it just makes the angle setting really automatic. It does both sides at once, and it makes it really easy to just lock it in place with a lever like that.
Okay.
And so now that my knife is locked in, and I've got my hands free, and I've got my angle set, I'm able to work both sides of the blade like this with the stones.
A nice upward motion.
Yeah, and so you can do any kind of a motion. Like, I actually prefer a downward motion like this when I'm finishing my blades. But the main thing is that these guide rods pivot on really nice ball joints. And once the stone is on the rod and the knife is in the clamp and you put the stone against it, you can't change that angle. It's always going to be the same angle for you.
Nice.
So now I can alternate strokes. So I'm not work hardening the edge. I'm not flipping the burr back and forth every time. I'm just taking that burr all the way down to where I have 2 points that meet in one single little apex. And that's going to give me the sharpest, most durable edge.
So I have a question. While you were doing that, I figured I'd ask because this is something that I have found myself asking knife sharpeners. Does pressure on from this onto the blade play a part, or is it really more the technique that is what really gives it the edge?
That's an awesome question. I'm really glad you asked, because when people first get our system and they've seen our demonstrations and what we can do with the knife, the kind of crazy sharp that we can get, they want to duplicate that right away. But I see a lot of people using heavy pressure and it takes away from the edge. They're really forcing metal from one side of the blade to the other, and so one of the first things we teach is lighten up. Just let the weight of the stones do the work.
Okay, so it's about technique.
It's about technique, yeah. You really don't need to be pushing hard. I'm just letting these guide rods guide the stone, and I put just a little bit of force to just to move the stones, but I don't press against the knife like that. I just let the gravity take care of that.
Okay, so I noticed that the stones are two-sided.
Yeah.
Okay, now in this particular one, I see that it's a 1500 grit, and then on the other side is like a fine, was it like leather? That you can pour some, I guess, some emulsify.
So this one's a lapping film, and
okay.
it's like a peel and stick lapping film with diamonds coated to it. So after these 1500 grit diamond stones, I can switch to this lapping film. And with just a few strokes, I can take this from a good looking edge to a really high polish. Maybe 10 strokes and you'll start to see that mirror coming out.
Very nice. Yeah, no, I'm starting to see that right now.
It just pops right out like that.
Yeah.
So we offer a lot of different abrasives. The core of our stones are diamond stones, but we do offer 4 different kinds of ceramics, and we do a lot of leather strops, and then these diamond lapping films, which are always on a glass surface like this.
Okay, so you can peel those off, switch them off for a new one, and you can continue on for knives. Okay, so say somebody's just getting started with the system, but they can't get all of the bells and whistles at once. What is your recommendation for somebody starting from, say, a different system, like a guided system, like well, I don't want to name drop any other sharpeners, but kind of getting into Wicked Edge. Say they want to get a nice a basic setup and kind of work from there. What do you recommend?
I would say our Wicked Edge Go is a great place to start, because it includes a special set of stones that we put together, which are 200 grit on one side and 600 grit on the other. So that 200 grit is aggressive. If you've got a broken tip or chips out of your blade, or you just want to reprofile it, those 200 grit diamond stones will definitely do that job. And then the 600 grit gives you what I think is a perfect working edge. So if it's just an EDC knife or a field knife, you want to be cutting boxes or ropes or baling twine, that 600 grit edge is fantastic. So we just put together that combo as an entry level. It works really well for people.
Okay. Now, I have found that there are people who are talking about the system working not only for their folding knives, but for their kitchen knives and even fixed blades.
Yeah.
How large of a knife can you actually put onto the system?
Well, I've got a machete at home that I like to sharpen, and it's 16 inches in length. And I can do that easily because I've got, if you look at the length of the guide rods here, and then you look at the length of the stone, I can actually go a long ways front and back. So I can go from way out here to way back here, no problem. Okay. And then we also offer, if you've got a sword or something you want to sharpen, we actually offer longer guide rods that you can just switch out, and then you can do something really long. So
okay.
At that point, the only limitation is your ability to kind of reach it. You have to work around the blade a little bit. But
well, it's funny you mention that, because aside from traditional blade, I guess blade points like a clip point or a drop point, is there any workarounds towards something that has, say, like a recurve?
Yeah, everybody asks about recurves, and generally speaking, the curvature in a recurve, if you imagine that arc is part of a huge circle, and so it's really pretty open, and our flat stones are just narrow enough that they fit inside of 99% of recurves. In the odd event that you have like a super tight radius, like a Kestrel,
yes,
or something really, not even like a karambit. Karambits usually work with our regular stones, but like a really tight curve. We do have some curved stones that have a curved surface to get inside of those. But for 99% of all recurves, our regular stones are great.
Okay. So this is the standard Wicked Edge setup. I believe this one right here is the Wicked Edge Go.
No, the Go is this one over here.
So we were talking about the Gen 3 system, and I made I actually inquired about the fact that, say you're just starting out with the Wicked Edge system, and you want to start with something basic, but something that can really, you could grow with.
Yeah.
So you mentioned the Wicked Edge Go.
Yeah, I love this system because it's portable and it's really approachable in terms of price, and it comes with a great combination of stones, 200 grit, 600 grit combo. So these 200 grit stones are plenty aggressive if you've got a damaged knife that you want to restore, or if you just want to change the angle to something lower. They're definitely got enough aggression that you can reprofile that knife. And then the 600 grit stones give you what I think is the perfect working edge. So if it's an everyday carry, you're opening boxes or you're cutting ropes or baling twine, cutting zip ties, whatever, that's a fantastic edge for that. Because it's got just enough tooth at the edge that it's really aggressive. So these come in the Go, and then that's just a great starting point. And then if you want to start to add stones as you grow with your system, you can always add any of our stones. They all fit the machine. They all fit the same way. And so you can grow with it as much as you want.
Perfect. All right. And on this one, instead of the wheel in the back that you can actually set the angle, I noticed over here there's actually some, I guess, numbers to be able to go ahead and set the angle anywhere from 15 to 30 degrees.
Correct. Yeah, and you'll set your angles individually on each side. And we've got these calibrated marks. And so you've got that angle range of 15 to 30 degrees. And I can just slide this along, line it up, and then lock it in place.
Okay. And it works like a standard machine, so you can actually put your key in with your knife, set it in there, and then just kind of start working.
Absolutely. And the beauty of our system is that even though I just sharpened this knife on the Gen 3 Pro, I can put it in this one here, and I would have the exact same setup at 19 degrees. I could just pick up where I would left off. So I could have one at home and one in the field or whatever, but they all are interchangeable, and that repeatability is a key feature.
Well, Clay, thank you so much for showing us not only the Wicked Edge, the Gen 3, but the Wicked Edge Go. I'm a fan, man.
Awesome. My pleasure, Carlos. It's very nice to meet you.
You've done some great work here. I know that this is something that a lot of people have asked me on my channel, and I've had questions, about this system as well. Luckily, people like MIA Blade Works were able to kind of help service some of my knives in the past, which kind of piqued that curiosity, and I'm glad we were able to run into you over here at SHOT Show.
Thank you so much for stopping by. I'm glad we met.